Good morning, everybody. My name is Peter Simpson. I'm Head of Food Technology at CAFRE. You're very welcome to what was, a few moments ago, a very sunny Cookstown. It's lovely to see a few CAFRE friends online this morning, but if you've never engaged with us before, you're very welcome. Welcome to our virtual awareness event on the Knowledge Transfer Partnership. If you don't mind, I'm just going to begin with a couple of housekeeping arrangements. This morning, we're using a platform called WebEx. If you've never used it before, it's quite similar to other platforms. But from experience, if you lose connection, the best thing to do is try and rejoin the meeting again. Like all similar platforms, we have a Q&A function. And as I'm looking at my screen, mine is on the right-hand side. We would encourage you to ask questions today. You can type your questions into the bar at the side, and at the very end, we'll have a live Q&A session with our panelists, and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can. And just to note this morning, because we've had a lot of interest from companies who couldn't join the seminar this morning, this webinar is being recorded. So today we're going to try and raise awareness of knowledge transfer partnerships and how they can help your business. And we're focusing particularly on the food and drink industry. So a KTP is a subsidised three-way partnership between a business, a high-calibre graduate, and an academic institution. And I should have said at the outset today, this event has been organised in conjunction with our friends at KTP at Queen's University Belfast. And I think with the amount of change that's happening in the food industry at the moment, I don't think there's a better time to introduce some fresh thinking into your business. And this is a cost-effective way to bring fresh talent and expertise into delivering something for your company. And working with our friends at Queen's KTP, we have seen how beneficial it can be to all parties. I can speak with some experience on the matter because many years ago, I too was a Queen's KTP graduate trainee. And from my perspective, from my own career perspective, it was really, really useful. But from the business that I worked for, I could see the real benefit in the support that was provided by an academic institution. So today we've got a range of speakers who will give you a short insight into the KTP programme. So on our agenda this morning, we're going to start with an overview of KTP by Joel Ferguson, who's a Senior Knowledge Transfer Advisor from the Knowledge Transfer Network. My colleague Deborah Winnery is going to give an overview of the facilities we have at CAFRE that can be used as part of this programme. I'm delighted that Michael Hall, the Managing Director from Forest Feast, has taken some time out of his busy schedule today to tell us about his own personal experience of what I believe was an excellent KTP partnership that he ran a couple of years ago. And finally on the agenda today, we have Shirley Ann Hazlitt from Queen's Management School, who's going to talk to us a little about a new form of KTP, a relatively new form called management KTPs, and we're looking forward to hearing about that. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Joel Ferguson.
Thank you, Peter. You gave a really good summary of KTP, and I'll try and build on that in the next 10 minutes. So I'm Joel Ferguson, and I work for KTN. Give the next slide, please. So KTN is an organisation that connects ideas, people and communities to drive innovation. So we have teams of sector experts that work with particular sort of sectors of industry right across the UK. But I work in a team that specifically supports the KTP programme. and we've got a team of 30 people in every part of the UK and 3 people in Northern Ireland specifically supporting this programme. The next slide, please. So KTP is a partnership, as Peter said. So in very, very simple terms, it helps a company that wants to do something strategically important and something innovative. So it could be developing a new product, it could be developing new processes, or as Peter touched on, and Shirley Ann will talk about later, it can be about, with the new management KTP scheme, it can be more about business and management skills and trying to access expertise in that space for your company as well. So it's about delivering something strategically important and innovative where you need support and expertise that isn't easily found, I suppose, in the marketplace. So you work with an academic team, you've got the specific skills and capability that you need, and you employ a graduate then to work on this project over typically 2 to 3 years, but anywhere from 1 to 3 years. I think one of the really attractive things about a KTP is it helps you attract good talent. So the graduates that tend to apply for KTPs tend to be, really good people because they see it as a really, excellent development opportunity. So it tends to be quite, you attract good talent, and about 70% of the people that we recruit on KTPs that come in and work on projects will stay with the company afterwards. So there's a good history of the graduates staying on in the companies after. It's a 3-way partnership. So the primary thing is obviously the benefit for the company, but we also look for benefits for the university and for the graduate. I've already said for the graduate, there's it's a development opportunity for them because they're working with really, senior people in a company on a really important project with leading academics and people with really, leading expertise in that area. And they get there's a recognition that they'll be developed. So there's a development budget there to help train and develop the graduate as well. So it's a really attractive package. And for the university or college, universities and colleges are being pushed more and more to apply their expertise to support business through innovation. So KTP really supports with that agenda, but academics and people from the college that get involved in KTP, they get other benefits like, good examples that they can use in terms of teaching and case studies. They get student placements, and there's also that kind of relationship that's built up with the company that hopefully will survive the KTP and become fruitful beyond the project itself. Next slide, please. So in summary, a KTP is a program that supports a company that wants to do something innovative, where they need access to capability that they can access at a university or a college, and typically projects 1 to 3 years. The program's been running now for more than 45 years. It used to be known as the Teaching Company Scheme way back. I was an associate as well, Peter, a long time ago, and my dad was the Teaching Company Scheme. It's now KTP. Typically, we have around 850 projects running at any time in the UK, and in Northern Ireland, we're one of, if not the strongest region in the UK for this programme, and we typically have 70, 80 programmes running at any time. KTP is completely, agnostic of sector. We have, every kind of business you could think of pretty much has, been involved in KTP at somewhere in the UK at some time. Next slide, please. So I won't go into all the detail of what happens, if you're interested in KTP, but in very simple terms, if this program is something that you think might be relevant to you and you might be interested in, you can talk to people from CAFRE, people from Queen's, or by all means contact me or one of my colleagues. And what we'll try and do is see if we think, first of all, try and get you the right academic team to help, or the right experts to help your project, but we'll try and tease out and see if we think it fits with the program's criteria. And if we think it does, we'll help you shape it up into both a project plan and also an application. So we'll work through who will do what when and build that into the application itself. If you submit that and it's successful, you get a letter of offer, and pretty much then you set about recruiting your graduate. The graduate, we call them the associate, is employed by the university or academic institution, but they work in your company to your terms and conditions. So that's really important. You treat them as your employee. They work to your working hours, your annual leave kind of arrangements and so on, but technically they're employed by the university. So it's a slightly unusual situation, and it's really just because the university holds the grant in these projects. So it's a simpler arrangement, but you treat them like your employee. When the project's up and running, the graduate will be working on it, and typically the academic team will spend around about half a day a week, ideally in the company, sitting down with you and the graduate and helping direct the project and support the graduate and support you, supplying their expertise and delivering the project itself. There's a budget of, which I'll come on to the budget in a couple of slides, but there's a budget there for training and development for the graduate. And there's an understanding that up to 10% of their time would be put into training and development type activities, which can be in the company, but the budget can also fund technical training. There can be leadership training, whatever you think that person would need to help shape them up into the kind of rounded, well-developed individual that hopefully you would want to employ at the end of the project. There's a budget there for that. It's when we say 10% of the time, they don't take 10% of their time out to do training. It's just a notional kind of understanding that there'll be a support there for them to do training and development that you have supported them in identifying. Typically 1 year to 3 years long projects, but I say more typically 2 years upwards. And if the project's funded, then once it's up and running, the graduates on board, we meet roughly every 4 months then to monitor progress in the project. And if there's any issues with it, then I can try and help, and obviously we'll try and keep the project on track. Next slide, please. So typical costs, and don't worry about writing any of this down because the slides and the recording will be available afterwards, but to employ a graduate on a salary of between 18 and 35,000, when you add national insurance and pension contributions, the total employment cost is typically anywhere between 25 and 45,000 pounds a year. Some sectors like data analytics, machine learning have higher end salaries. Other sectors, obviously there's less pressure for that. So there can be quite a range depending on the sector you're in and the kind of expertise or graduate you're trying to attract. There's a budget of around £5,000 a year for development for the graduate. That's the training, but also some travel there for them to go and visit maybe customers or suppliers, go to trade events and things like that. And that covers the cost of the academic coming to your business as well to help with the project. And there's a little bit of money in there for consumables, but it tends to be enough to buy the basics, a laptop and maybe a few other bits and pieces, small pieces of equipment. There's a cost for the academic expertise, which is in and around the £30,000 a year mark. And when you add all that up, the total cost of a project are anywhere between £60,000 and £80,000 per year. If you're an SME, the grant rate is 67%. If you're non-SME, it's 50%. So the cost of an SME is typically £20,000 to £27,000 a year. And for a larger company, it's £30,000 to £40,000 a year. And the way it normally works is the university holds the grant, or the college holds the grant, and then they will basically invoice the company just for their contribution either monthly or quarterly. Next slide, please. So lots of organisations in the UK support KTPs and co-fund them, but the main ones that are relevant here are Innovate UK and Invest Northern Ireland. So most of the projects here are jointly funded between Innovate UK and Invest NI. Sometimes DEFRA and other organisations will, if it's a project that particularly aligns with something they're interested in, they may put some funding in as well. But that doesn't really affect it. The company is really just, I suppose, making you aware of the government agencies and departments that support the programme. Next slide, please. So I suppose in short, what does a company get for their money from a KTP? Well, they get, a dedicated employee, this, graduate, hopefully, a talented, high potential young graduate coming into your business to work on the project. And an important part of a KTP is about embedding new capability as well. So it's not a one-off kind of just subcontract out some development. It's really important that that new capability you're accessing from the college or university is embedded in the company. You get access to the academic team at half a day per week. So you're getting that expertise coming into your company to support you. And the support there in terms of obviously guiding the project and developing the graduate as well. And you get access to this network of support. Here in particular, CAFRE Queen's has more KTPs than any other organisation in the UK. They're a really slick operation. They've won national awards for the office and the way they manage KTPs. And the attractiveness there is that if you're working with CAFRE Queen's, and CAFRE tend to work with the KTP office in Queen's for most of their projects, all of the administration, all of the management, all of the claims, all of that is taken care of by that office. So you really just focus on, working with the team from CAFRE or Queen's, the academic team to, help you deliver your projects. It takes all that burden away from you. Next slide, please. So just on this is my kind of real last slide, I suppose, just for contact details. To get a project funded, you have to demonstrate that there's a gap in capability in your company and that's kind of expertise is something that you need access to the college or university to supply. And and you have to demonstrate as well there's a need for that capability beyond the project. So, if you're developing a new process, obviously you'll want to embed the capability and know-how around that. So, but that's important, the need to embed a capability. Typically, really small companies, one or two people find it difficult to win funding for KTP. Typically, it's 4 or more employees, and the reason for that is to show that you've got enough people in the company to support the graduate and embed that new knowledge into the company as well. There's some affordability checks, which ideally, a company should be trading 2 years and be profitable and so on. But we have early stage companies, pre-revenue companies. Obviously, in the last year, a lot of businesses have went through very challenging times. So, we can look at the affordability side of things and usually, in most cases, make a case around that. So that's something that I can help you with, and see if that would be an issue or something we can deal with. But outside of that, you're demonstrating that it's a high impact project for your business. It's something that's innovative for your company and your sector, something that's challenging for the academic team to deliver. So something that's, not just straightforward, something that they're going to get, a bit of challenge and interest from as well. And overall, we look just at how well the whole project fits together and how well it's planned. Next slide, please. So that's the final slide I have. We've our KTP website. There's an inquiry address, my contact details, my 2 colleagues in Northern Ireland, and there's a Twitter address there as well. That if you sign up to that, you'll get news on KTP and when various funding calls open and so on as well. So with that, I'll finish up, and I think I'll hand across now to Deborah, who's going to talk about the facilities at CAFRE, and I think we have Q&A at the end of the overall session. Thank you.
Okay, thanks Joel, and good morning everyone. Firstly, just before I start, if you want to pop some questions maybe into the Q&A function, feel free to do so. So I'm basically going to give you an overview now, sort of on the facilities of food technology within CAFRE at the Loughry campus. So we basically have a team of technologists working with around 250 companies per year from different food and drink sectors. It's really to encourage innovation, to promote the adoption of technology, and also to deliver some accredited training courses as well. So it's really to assist with key expertise in areas such as food manufacture, innovation, food safety and packaging, sustainability and waste minimisation, with access to the kitchen and pilot processing facilities on site. It's really to support and to meet the needs of individual businesses and also as the industry as a whole. And the client base can range from small startups right through to larger companies. So the support pathway is structured to suit the business needs, whether it be technical queries, sort of undertaking trials, or perhaps through a funded programme such as Innovation Vouchers, Intertrade Ireland, or a collaborative project, or a programme such as a KTP. It's a really good way to manage and provide structure with the wider spanning sort of projects. And really it's to ultimately deliver the goals for the company and embed knowledge, and it involves the use of a graduate with access to the training courses and budgets as well. Every project is unique, and it does involve the use and access of the Food Innovation Centre at Loughry. That includes the Ideas Hub, food innovation kitchens, and also this can be used for developing recipes or reformulation, or then using the recipes to conduct some sensory analysis within the sensory analysis suite. So our sensory analysis is really a good way to actually build profile about your food products. It can aid development with recipes, and it can also gather flavour information, and this ultimately helps with the decision-making process on a new product development journey. It provides very useful data, and we can gather this data in the sensory booths, and the reports can be analysed using the CompuSense system. So, however, I suppose more recently, with the increase in the online shopping and the home cooking and maybe the meal kits ideas in conjunction with sensory science, food companies are really starting to focus a lot more online, and sensory marketing has become a very important addition in the first stage really of the MPD process. For example, Customers and consumers are really starting to shop a wee bit more online, and companies are really starting to present their products to enhance customer interaction. So even if we look at this slide here of the salmon, as consumers, it really does appeal to our sight senses, where sort of companies are given one step further by providing us with visual ideas of meal kits and meal options and how we could turn that into a meal, which actually does tend to attract our purchase intention and increase purchase appeal. So the next stage on the support pathway within the Food Technology Centre is this is where the scale up can happen, and we can use the pilot scale and industrial equipment within the food hall area. This is good for gathering some yield data, and we can also do how the ingredients function and also gather some microbial testing and even develop the shelf life analysis. It's a really good way to gather data and to address troubleshooting and also document process parameters. So an example of technology transfer within a KTP project is really bespoke, and as I say, it has to fit in really with the culture of the business, and all the work is done in commercial and confidence. The key themes may include a new food product or process development. It could be reformulation, a new strategy being embedded, health and well-being, a totally new concept, or it could be the implementation of technology process to maybe enhance product quality or packaging. And really, it does provide a really good partnership and structure to a project. If we look at this innovation process diagram that I've taken off the web, it's basically a good way to actually look to see how the product and process development goes much further than just the MPD phase. And with these types of longer term projects, there is greater focus to embed a good range of resources within the company. And also, even with all the external change that has happened recently for businesses, the resilience of the food industry has been second to none, and the assistance and sort of business models have changed, and they do encompass a wide range of steps in the innovation process. Okay. So basically, sort of running in tandem with the facilities and all the support, we can also give advice on food labelling, and sort of legislative advice can be provided, and also data from the laboratory as well, maybe on nutritional, microbiological and chemical testing. Also on site, we have a packaging centre where the packaging technologists can offer advice on many aspects of the packaging, including material selection, strength, integrity, and also packaging analysis. So also in collaboration and partnership does enhance knowledge, and these pictures just at the side now taken pre-COVID highlight some of the collaborative work that we've been involved with, including international links. Previously, we undertook a collaborative project in 2019 in conjunction with the Food Standards Agency of Northern Ireland, and it was really around the reformulation of scones to provide options for artisan bakeries to really show how their recipes could be adjusted to make them more healthy and reduce calories and energy content, and also provided them with some nutritional and sensory profile and a technical guidance document that they could take back to their bakery to scale up their own recipes. So basically, looking ahead then, CAFRE is about to begin a collaborative project as well with the Northern Ireland Technology Centre at Queen's University Belfast. And this really aims to provide sort of the manufacturing industry with some automated solutions in order to improve productivity, resilience, and sustainability. This project will use virtual modeling of food production processes in real time to accelerate awareness and also demonstrate the need for the industry to invest in automated technology. So this is just my final slide, so thank you for listening, and now I will just hand over to Michael Hall, who is the Managing Director of Kestrel Foods, and he is going to give an overview of how KTP helped his business. Thanks, Michael.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Deborah, and thank you for the opportunity to tell you how KTP helped our business. Next slide, please. We start by a little bit of background on the KTP project. Kestrel Foods is a Portadown-based family-owned and managed business. It was founded 25 years ago by myself and my late wife, Lorraine. Over the years, we built a good reputation with our customers for selling high-quality nuts and dried fruit products under the Forest Feast brand. We had ambitions to transition from solely an importer and a packer to a fully fledged manufacturing business, so we could become self-sufficient on all added value products. So to remove reliance on suppliers, and some of whom we regarded as competitors, in 2014, we invested in a new roasting and flavouring facility to bring production in-house. The rationale for this investment was to enable us to take responsibility for our own product quality, improve overall product taste, speed up raw material stock turn, and lead to improved margins on added value lines. Our business lacked the science and technology know-how, and not having been previously involved in manufacturing, so the KTP partnership was the ideal way for us to bridge the knowledge gap with a dedicated resource. Next slide, please. The KTP partnership instantly gave us a dedicated resource to develop manufacturing in-house. This provided the key knowledge and understanding of how to produce roasted and flavoured products ourselves. With access to the academic support and resources at CAFRE, we were able to complete kitchen scale and pilot scale trials to test new ingredients, find the right processing aids, and test finished products. The KTP associate developed and embedded an NPD system in our factory, stimulating a new culture of product creativity and innovation, which was much welcomed by the sales and marketing teams. The understanding of process and technology capability resulted in new product areas being explored, such as chocolate and yogurt coating and granola manufacturing, creating many new possibilities for us to add value to our products. This began to contribute significantly to sales growth through both new product sales and gaining new customers across multiple sales channels. The company has now got the capability to develop bespoke products for customers, giving us a significant advantage over larger competitors. And we now welcome many new customers to our manufacturing site, instilling confidence with our manufacturing capabilities, whilst partnering on bespoke projects thanks to the KTP partnership. Next slide, please. There was a great deal of technical expertise developed as a result of external factory visits, supplier meetings, and training opportunities. This led to the adoption and embedding of new or improved processes and technology in critical areas within our production, such as oven roasting processes, where we documented the bake time, the bed depth of the products, and moisture levels. Flavouring technology with oils, dry seasonings, liquids, and glazes. We learned about application systems, specifically how to bake on flavours, methods of how to incorporate inclusions and encapsulation of products. The science of chocolate manufacturing was learned. We learned how to temper and enrobe nuts and dried fruit with chocolate. Packaging also played a critical role in the stability of the products and shelf life of the products too. We explored film barrier properties and gas flushing technology. Producing accurate nutritional values with the use of software for labeling was researched and implemented within our production. The KTP graduate rose to the challenge with many requests for product development and solutions on how to manufacture various products. Next slide, please. Internal systems and processes were fully tested and then documented for easy reference. This formed the basis for staff training and instructions when we went to commercial production, as well as the foundation for product development procedures and an ingredient database for the future. We had all the recipes on file and the method on how to produce them. Interestingly, we found that certain ingredients reacted very differently from product to product, so having a go-to database was a huge help for the future product development projects. Kitchen scale production is never easy to replicate at scale in the factory, so understanding and communicating this was a key part of the KTP project. Next slide, please. This slide gives you a good snapshot of our new capabilities. The variety of product and flexibility we now offer our customers has been extremely well received. The breadth of manufacturing pairs well with our global ingredients sourcing and keeping us ahead of the game, offering us innovation and speed to market. The KTP partnership was the catalyst that the company needed to develop expertise in coating technology, nut and granola roasting processes. The understanding of how the technology could be used led to opportunities to manufacture a variety of different products for new customer markets. Next slide, please. The knowledge developed through the KTP program in both product and process set the foundation for high levels of creativity, which resulted in an organic growth of new products with innovative flavor combinations. This is evident across our brands. On Forest Feast, our snacks are now handcrafted, making the most of our in-house roasting and flavouring capabilities. We have used innovative techniques and flavour combinations to produce our award-winning snacks. Some of the examples of the products we've created are on this particular slide. Next slide, please. With confidence gained in the manufacturing process, we went on to create a second brand. This is a good example of how we have been able to bring to market products using all the science and technology we learned. ActiSnack has been developed and produced in-house. This range is designed to answer different need states with high energy mixes to fuel athletes before and during an event or training. It provides an all natural recovery mixes to low sugar keto mixes. As the first and only accredited keto snacks in the UK and Ireland, these two specific mixes feed growing dietary trends around the increasing demand for lower sugar and lower carb options. Next slide, please. The original KTP project concept was to replicate the existing bought-in manufactured product range, but the level of NPD exceeded expectations. We now sell our products across multi-channel categories at retail and food service. The company has been able to continue with the relationship built with CAFRE during the KTP partnership, and we continue to seek advice and consult on new projects as they arise. Innovation through manufacturing NPD remains at the heart of everything that we do. Being proactive and bringing new concepts to market keeps the brands current, refreshed, and on trend. The KTP partnership has facilitated and accelerated this culture. And finally, a special mention must go to David Jones, who is an exceptionally talented KTP graduate, who we were very lucky to recruit, KTP graduate, who worked with us for 2 years as a KTP, and then he came on full-time for 3 years as our R&D project manager before he returned home to Wales to join his family business. Thank you. And now I hand over to Shirley-Ann.
Yeah, thank you for that, Michael. So I'm going to take you through one of the new additions to the KTP family of a portfolio of programs, if you like, and it's management KTPs. And you've already heard very powerfully, both from Joel and from Michael and Deborah, about some of the interesting and really important ideas that have already been enacted, and also in terms of some of the benefits that working with a KTP program can generate for your business. Management KTPs, if we just look at the next slide then, management KTPs are a fairly new addition, and when you look at this slide, you'll think, on earth is she talking to me about an organisation that isn't in food and drink? And it's really just to explore the type of diversity in relation to management KTPs that are out there. And so this particular KTP that I'm working on with resistant building products in Belfast was one of the very first management KTPs that was funded. And there's quite a significant pot of money centrally set aside for management KTPs, with a growing recognition that there are various aspects of all businesses that probably could be improved if only we had the time to concentrate on them. And so this particular management KTP, you can see there's quite a wordy explanation for it, but really what it's focusing on, it cuts across lots of core aspects of management. So the KTP that Charlotte's working on, there's a little bit of marketing there, but this is not a fully fledged marketing project because that's not my background. It is a strategic project. There is an element of upskilling and uplifting the IT function, but it's not a fully IT project, and you don't need to be able to program in order to do this project, etc. It's also about looking at marketing in terms of sales development and business growth, but that's not its core focus, its main focus either. And so one of the beauties about a management KTP is that if you look at a business challenge or a business issue or a business opportunity that you would like to concentrate on, and you don't have the time, or maybe you don't have that one person in your organisation that would be able to focus on that, then that's the kind of management KTP opportunity that could be out there. And if we look at our next slide, these key characteristics will give you an idea about what that should be about. So when we try to understand the key characteristics of a management KTP, the project should be transformative. They should take your business to the next step, whether that's in terms of increased productivity, which will obviously then eventually lead to increased sales and increased revenue for your business. It has to drive strategic change. So are you interested in taking your product into a different set of markets? Are you interested in product development? Are you interested in capitalizing on the skill set of your employees and trying to really capture their expertise, because those who are closest to a business problem are also those who are closest to a solution. And so the strategic change should help take your organisation to the next level and obviously then boost your commercial performance. All of these management KTPs, and at this stage now I've secured 3 of these, and they're very, very different types of projects. They take a much wider view of what's happening. If you think about your organisation now, and obviously with the pandemic and Brexit adding a whole host of other issues that perhaps are very, very challenging for us, if you think about your business now, where would you like to see it in the next 3 to 5 years' time? What elements and aspects of your strategic overview could you do with some help with? Are there specific parts of that approach that you could carve out into a meaningful project? Do you, for example, look at your waste and think there must be a better way of reducing this? Do you look at your operations and your supply chain and think we spend far too much time on this, and maybe if we streamlined it, or maybe if we did some troubleshooting, we could be more agile? Do you look at, and all of us, and I count myself and my institution in this as well, we measure everything, and we've got all these measures and all of this information, but are we really using it properly? Are we measuring the right things? Are we clear what we should be measuring? Do we really look at the analytics? And I don't mean, well, I do mean, but you don't have to have really powerful business analytics and, you know, an associate or a colleague who can program an R in Python. What you really want is, are you collecting the right data to allow you to make really good business decisions? And I think certainly in my own institution, if we were honest, we could probably pare back hundreds of the things that we measure and actually really get to the heart of measuring, in inverted commas, the right thing. And so in terms of a management KTP, projects can and should work across different functions. And for many of our organisations, we are an SME-driven culture. We probably don't have, in some cases, very discrete, clearly defined business departments. You may find that your colleague who's managing marketing is also looking after IT or is looking after some other aspect of the business. But these management KTP projects, part of their beauty, and you've heard Michael talk very powerfully about the KTP in his organisation, these projects take a holistic business view. And so by necessity, if you're trying to create a more visually appealing product so that it captures customers' hearts and minds, you do have to think about finance. You do have to think about the marketing and PR. You do have to think about the HR function in terms of, do you need to upskill people? Are you going to subcontract out part of that work? So management KTPs by necessity cut across many different business functions. And obviously then, as we move to the next slide, there has to be a business case for doing this. It's not just a nice to do project. It's something, and that's the power of it for you. It has to do something that is going to help you take your business to the next level. And maybe that's drawing on really current thinking in terms of best practice. And whilst we're all quite good at really informal networks in Northern Ireland, maybe we're not as skilled at reaching out to understand best practice in the UK, Ireland, and actually much further afield. And maybe looking at best practice in one part of your industry would form the basis for a really quite nice management KTP, and then taking it further. And this is a slide that I have shamelessly stolen from another KTP advisor, because it does capture the kinds of things. So why reinvent the wheel? Just shamelessly steal it and then acknowledge it afterwards. These are the kinds of things that you could look at. If you look at what's happening in business right now, maybe you still have some employees who are working from home. And that has thrown up a whole host of challenges. Maybe there's a project around that in terms of understanding and embedding novel forms of work or new forms of work. There's quite probably for many of us an issue there in terms of resilience, individual personal resilience in the first place, but equally and probably quite a bit more important, as you move from individual resilience, you're looking at organisational resilience. How do you shore up your business when there are all of these constant external, in inverted commas, attacks, many of whom, the pandemic has totally changed how we think about things. It has allowed us to become a little bit more agile and to focus on what's really important to us. So there's maybe a project there that you're thinking about and think, I'd really like our business to be better at X. What would that look like? And equally so, if you look at some organisations, so one of the projects I'll be working on has at its heart succession planning. And if that metaphorical bus came along and one or two key employees were unable to contribute to your business, would your business suffer? So we're thinking here about things like organisational memory and who can do what. And so if you've got one or two really critical people in the organisation, as an organisation, you're really very exposed if something happens to those individuals. That comes back to your resilience piece. It also comes back to a piece about succession planning, understanding the skill set of all of your employees. And it will come as a surprise to many organisations that, there's lots of employees who are willing to do more and maybe just don't have the conduit to do that. Or maybe your overall organisational structure might benefit from a refresh. There's no end to the kinds of things that maybe are really important to you, but you don't have maybe the time. We're all very time poor, and we've had to really prioritise in the last year what is absolutely business critical. And so for many of us, It's been a case of firefighting for now in the hope to be able to come back to something much more strategic as we go along. And if we look to the next slide, I suppose the acid test in terms of, is there enough mileage there for a KTP project? It has to be strategic. It has to be something that can't be done in 2 months or 6 months. It has to be meaty enough and have enough strands coming out of it to be really worthwhile for you as a business, and obviously then for an associate. And you can see the kinds of things I've kind of alluded to them. It has to drive productivity improvement. There has to be a positive impact to you. Not necessarily at that specific point, but what's it going to look like during the project? What's the productivity improvement and payback to you going to look like 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and beyond that to you? It has to involve, I suppose, collectively, I'd refer to it as the people function, in terms of leadership, owners of the business, the senior management team, and then the stuff I've said about succession planning, resilience, and training and development, and embedding that knowledge so that it is much more explicit rather than tacit. And you can see, I mean, that kind of, I suppose, encompasses all of that. Why would you want a management KTP rather than a piece of consultancy? Because a management KTP allows you to tap into the university college's expertise in terms of innovative thinking, state-of-the-art knowledge, and that embeddedness of having that tripartite relationship that can be so powerful. And if we just move then to the final slide, you can tell as an academic, I'm hopeless with time. So if somebody just pinged at me to say, you need to hurry up. The last 4 points, again, is just pulling it all together. There is benefits. I'm a big champion of KTP. And through my time at Queen's, I think I'm probably on the 9th or 10th one. They haven't all been plain sailing, and yes, there's a few hiccups along the way, but every single one of those organisations has had benefit, sometimes really exceptional benefit very quickly, and others there's always been something left there in terms of moving the organisation to the next stage. And so if you look through those last 5 bullet points, it's very much about the power of the university and college, bringing that new embedded knowledge and working with the KTP. A management KTP, the business issues that you might be focusing on are not easily resolvable by one person, and they're not easily resolvable in 1 month or 2 months, as I've mentioned. And it's sitting down and bringing in fresh knowledge and really unpicking the organisation's expertise and knowledge. No one will know your business like you know it, but bringing in the university institution, bringing in the associate, and that really powerful tripartite relationship is what will help take your business to the next stage. So in terms of all of this, you know, that's just a really brief snapshot about the management aspect of it. You could look at any part of your business. It could be a total rethink about your structure. It could be a continuous improvement exercise, a continuous improvement project. It could be looking at something like a rethink of your financial processes and how you manage interactions across your supply chain. It could be any host of things. And that's the beauty in all of this. And that's where management KTPs really complement and add to the whole suite of KTP programmes. So I'll stop there and I'll pass back to Peter for any members who've got any particular questions to ask the panel. So thank you for that.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much to our great panelists this morning. Your job hasn't finished yet because we have a few questions for you. I'm going to start with Joel, please. Joel, if a company applies for a KTP program, is there a fixed closing date, or is there a call that goes out, or is it an open application process?
Yeah, there's a close roughly every 2 or 3 months. So there's one in the middle of April, which, to be honest, at this stage would be really difficult to meet for someone that hasn't started the process already. The next one after that will be in June, and I think there's another one in September. And all those dates are available on that KTP website and on the Innovate UK website as well, the Innovation Funding Service.
Okay, Joe, just to clarify another issue here, we know KTP obviously has a finite number of partnerships available, so it's almost a competitive application process. How would a food business increase its chance of a successful application then to get an associate?
The key thing is making sure that it fits the criteria for KTP and that it scores well when it's assessed. So myself and my colleagues, we're all assessors in the programme, but we obviously don't assess projects that we kind of help and advise in the early stages. But that means that we'll sit with you in those early stages, and we're really well placed to tell you if your project fits the criteria, and if it does, how best to present it and articulate that. So we will help with that. And typically with KTP, because we filter out maybe projects that don't meet the criteria or aren't likely to be funded, success rates tend to be high. So our success rates are typically in around 80, even 90% at each competition. So yeah, we'll support that along with the university or college.
Okay. Deborah, in terms of our facilities, I'm well aware of what we have over there, but for a business, do they have, if they have an associate, they obviously have access to your expertise and that of our colleagues here, but do they have access to our facilities then?
Yeah. So basically, in the project, then we would be developing the project objectives and the deliverables, and that would include, if needs be, to come on site and to use our facilities. So we can use the kitchens or the food hall for scale up, or the testing through the laboratories as well. Also, we obviously go on site as well and help out with scale up and or any sort of trial work that wants to be done on site for the company as well. So that's included, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lorraine, we have a few questions just really around a few kind of operational issues here. So can you sort of just to clarify, who manages the graduate on a day-to-day basis?
All KTP graduates, the associates, are employed by the university, but they work full-time in the company. So they'll have a supervisor on a day-to-day basis in the company, but they'll also get some help with that supervision from the academic partner as well. So it's really, they should be treated like the company's own employee, under their direction, and getting involved in different aspects of the company to see where the changes they're making will impact in other ways.
Using the graduate then?
Sorry, Peter, I lost your mic there.
Sorry. How much of an input does a company have into choosing that graduate?
Whenever we write up the application, we will put together what we think is the best fit for that person. But we do a joint recruitment process, so the company is fully involved the whole way along. They sit on the shortlisting and interview panels, and the final decision rests with the company as to who gets appointed. So it's never the case of, this is your project, here's your graduate, off you go. It's very much driven by the company.
Just on a final question about the actual project then, so we start off with great intentions at the beginning of the process with a really good project, but that project may change before we get to the end. What kind of impact does that have on that kind of relationship?
Well, all KTP projects, we start off with, as you say, the best intentions, and this is the objective. But things like global pandemics and Brexit, all, they can get in the way. So it's not an issue if the project changes, as long as everybody is still getting, what they're looking for. We can change direction. The academics are usually very flexible and have a wide range of knowledge. So it's usually fairly straightforward just to change and refocus the project as it might be needed.
Okay, super. Joel, I have another one for you here. Question here about what's the general time frame between an initial conversation about a KTP program to receiving the grant and recruiting the associate? What's the kind of the time frame for that?
from the initial conversation to make an application can vary just depending on how well developed the idea is and how much time people have to put into developing the application. But typically that could be 4 weeks, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 8 weeks, just depending on the situation. Once you make your application, you'll get a notification as to whether or not it's been funded, usually around about 8 weeks afterwards. And usually that's basically you ready then to recruit if the news is positive. So 8 weeks after application, you can start the recruitment, and then it's just how quickly you can get someone started on the project after that.
Okay, and does the KTP program help with recruitment then, advertising and those kind of things?
Absolutely. So because the university is the employer, they'll usually lead. So if a project with Queen's, CAFRE, Queen's would lead on pulling together all the recruitment papers and putting all that together and making it happen and doing all the arrangements. But it's a joint recruitment, so the company, get to choose the person with the help of the academic team that they want for the post. But all of that is managed by the KTP office as part of the support they provide.
Okay, excellent. Folks, I have no more questions at the moment for you. You may get a few through your contact details later, but just to summarize what we've heard today, I think, Joel, you made the point that it's a very attractive package. That tripartite arrangement with academia and an employer and the graduate is a really, really worthwhile exercise. And you made the point as well that these are often fruitful beyond the end of the project. And I think Michael has, if he pardons the pun, I think he's reaped the benefits of that one after his project's finished. You didn't mention training and development. And again, from a personal point of view, any of the training I did was of benefit both to me and to the company. It was really focused on making me as best as I could to be able to perform in the company. And I think that was really worthwhile and one of the things that I took away from the program. I'm really pleased as well that any administrative burden is kind of shouldered by Queen's, and that's, again, from a company point of view, I think that's really good news. Deborah's touched on the technology that's available to help at the moment and some of the things that we're planning for the future. I think Michael has been a very strong advocate for the program and tells a really good story about the process and the journey that the graduate has helped them with. And from Lorraine's point of view, I think I would totally concur with the introduction of management KTPs, because I think one of the greatest needs in the food industry, and we've been trying to address that with CAFRE's higher level apprenticeships, is the need for good operation managers, people who have a good holistic overview of the business. And I think a management KTP would be really good for a food business. Folks, we're just about to draw to an end, but I would ask you to do one last thing for me. I'm going to, first of all, thank my panelists again and thank the folks who have been working away in the background to make this possible. And I'm thinking of our own CAFRE staff, Russell, Pamela and Laura, and also Carolyn at Queen's KTP. They've done a brilliant job in pulling this together. Don't exit out of the event just yet, because I will ask Russell to close the event and a little short survey will pop up, and that will be really, really useful for us if you could complete that before you log off the webinar this morning. And just finally, you'll be able to keep up to date with all that's happening in CAFRE in terms of all our developments and all our programs on the Discover CAFRE social media website. And all that remains for me to do today is to ask Russell to launch the survey and to wish you well for the rest of your day. Thank you very much.